Hi YouTube, it's your boy Graxy TV, and welcome to another Here's Each 2 video. Sub-skill trees are a new feature coming in Season 5 and are designed to provide a more tailored experience, letting players focus on specific playstyles and strategies that better suit their preferences. Each tree will offer a mix of passive and active abilities, allowing for a wide range of build options, enhancing both character customization and gameplay depth. To access this new feature, simply click the plus sign at the top right of the skill you're looking to spec into. A new window will pop up that looks just like this. Here's how this works. You always start at the bottom, then lines connect to smaller travel nodes that grant stacking buffs. At the end, every skill has 4 larger nodes that are very build defining, known as augments. You cannot have more than 1 augment per skill, but you can spec as many skills as you have allocated. For this video, I will be reviewing each skill's sub-skill tree for the Pirate class, going through every node and demonstrating each augment. Don't worry if you miss anything, I've created a spreadsheet detailing every sub-skill tree. A link for that is in the description, and as always, I will have timestamps available so you can easily navigate to your favorite skills. Now before we get started, this video is not intended to simulate DPS or serve as an indicator of which skills will be the best for Season 5. The goal here is simply to generate early conversations regarding sub-skill functionality, improvements, and diversity to ensure that every skill in Season 5 brings something fresh and exciting to the game. Use the comments to share your thoughts, or feel free to share a build that you've theory crafted. I'm streaming Season 5 beta on Twitch at twitch.tv/Graxy_TV, and I would be happy to check out any of these new build ideas that you guys have. Let's get going. Our first skill is Buckshot. Starting with the travel nodes, we have increased damage dealt, increase the amount of Buckshot trails. Buckshot now inflicts burning on hit, chance on hit to stun monsters, increased damage dealt to burning targets, increase the range of Buckshot, increase projectile size, increase attack rating, gain additional attacks per second while wielding a gun, and killing an enemy with Buckshot increases your damage for a short period of time. Our first augment is Big Slugs. Projectiles are now bigger and travel farther, also knocking monsters back. Second is One Slug to end them all. Fire a single slug, scaling a portion of its damage from the amount of total projectiles. Next is Circle of Slugs. Fire multiple waves of slugs in every direction. Buckshot now has a cooldown. And last, Six Slugs. Projectiles now chain off of the target with decreased damage. Our second skill is Torrent. Starting with the travel nodes, we have chance when casting to summon an additional torrent at the closest monster. Torrent knocks up enemies, stunning and dealing additional damage when landing. Chance to inflict cold break. Torrents now burst additional times. The movement diminishes reduced. Torrents have a chance on hit to chain their damage dealt to multiple nearby enemies. Increased damage dealt by Torrent. Chance on cast to replace Torrent with a watery tornado dealing damage, freezing and lasting for an increased duration. Increase the size and area of effect of Torrent. Increased damage dealt to frozen targets. Our first augment is Ocean Storm. Unleash multiple torrents around the target. Second is Chaotic Wave, sending forward a tsunami, unleashing torrents on hit. Third, we have Whirlpool. Create a whirlpool, sucking in monsters in a large radius, eventually collapsing into torrents. Torrent now has a cooldown. And last, Storm Pillar. Unleash a big torrent, knocking monsters back, and airborne with force, causing them to take increased damage when hitting the ground. Our third skill is Freezing Chain Shot. Starting with our travel nodes, we have Breaking Cold resistance on strike, increased hit rating, gain additional attacks per second while wielding a bow, increased projectile speed, increases damage to frozen enemies. This bonus is tripled versus deep frozen enemies, freezes enemies with increased chance on striking to deep freeze them, restore a flat amount of health and mana on hit, chance on hit to increase your attack speed for a short duration, reduced movement diminish. Freezing Chain Shot deals damage in a small area around the target's hit. Our first augment is Frozen Chain Rip. Freezing Chain Shot now chains and pulls chain monsters towards the first target. Second is Cold Snap Vacuum. Fires a huge chain shot, catching monsters on its way, dealing increased damage and stunning caught monsters when hitting terrain. Third, we have Catch of the Day. On hit, release additional chain shots in all directions. And last, we have Freezing Whiplash. When hitting terrain, the chain shot spins and grows in size, rapidly sending monsters into the air, dealing increased damage and stunning them. Our fourth skill is Explosive Barrel. This is actually a passive, it's not an actual skill that you use, but it's really cool that we actually have a sub-skill tree for this passive. Our first travel node is spawn additional barrels. Explosion AoE increased, deals increased damage to burning monsters. Striking monsters has a chance to explode barrels near them. Casting other skills has a chance to cast explosive barrel at the location. Increased damage dealt by barrels. Increased proc rate. Inflicts a portion of the damage dealt as burning. Dealing cold damage with explosive barrel freezes enemies and has a chance to deep freeze them. Barrels now explode in a frigid blast and their damage and scaling is converted to cold. Our first augment is Bring the Grog. Barrels are now big and leave ground burning with increased blast radius. Second, Field of Explosives, create multiple trails of smaller barrels. Third, we have Explosive Collision. Now throw a barrel bouncing and exploding multiple times. And lastly, we have Circle of TNT. Now create a circle of barrels around the target. Our fifth skill is Cannonball. Starting with the travel nodes, we have increased amount of chain bounces, increases the amount of shrapnel from Cannonball's explosion, increase Cannonball's attack rating, increases damage dealt, increase the damage of the Cannonball shrapnel, increase the range, increase shrapnel projectile speed, increases Cannonball size and its area of effect, increase damage dealt to burning targets, and Cannonball no longer explodes on hit, but instead knocks monsters back with increased damage according to the amount of shrapnels. Our first augment is Bomb Trail. Cannonball no longer chains, but is now piercing and unleashes bombs on every monster hit. Second, we have Blast the Horizon. Fire multiple cannonballs in an arc with decreased damage and bounces. Third is Mega Shot. Fire a mega cannonball with increased damage and unleashing additional cannonballs around the impact location. Wait, I missed this when I went through the first time. What is this? And lastly, Rolling Balls. Fire rolling cannonballs traveling forward on the ground, exploding with increased radius and inflicting burning on hit. Our sixth skill is Parrot. Starting with the travel nodes, we have increased attack speed, increase Parrot movement speed, increase the summon limit, increase summon damage and health, increase summon resistances. Parrots deal X% increased damage to bosses. Parrots have a chance to disarm enemies, reducing their attack rating and damage dealt. Parrots have a chance to hit in rage, significantly increasing their attack speed and damage for a short duration before dying. Increased parrot damage, and parrots deal increased damage to stun targets. Our first augment is Screech. Parrots now send a traveling Screech wave on attack, knocking monsters back and dealing increased damage. For all of these, I will be putting points into the summon limit just to show you with additional summons. Our second augment is Pecking Pack. Summon all parrots with one cast, empowering the parrots with increased attack speed. Parrots now have a cooldown. Third is Captain's Parrot. Summons now summon one big parrot, scaling with the amount of total parrots attacking with increased radius and damage. And lastly, Pecking Order. Parrots now unleash a frozen orb every 5 attacks with increased radius and damage. I do believe this one is bugged. I'm going to check it real quick. 2, 3, 4, 5th attack. So if you know what the Jotun Portal of Ice looks like, whenever you teleport, you get the Portal of Ice AoE. That's what it looks like. So you get that for every parrot that you have out. Our sixth skill is Explosive Bullets. Starting with the travel nodes, we have Explosive Bullet chains to an additional nearby monster, deals increased damage while you are wielding a gun, shatters the enemy's armor inflicting armor break, chance on striking to fire an additional explosive bullet towards a nearby monster, deals increased damage to bosses. After a short duration, the first monster hit explodes again, increased AoE explosion, increased hit rating, chance on hit to inflict a portion of the damage as burning, and deals increased damage to burning targets. Our first augment is Chain Reaction. Explosion triggers multiple times. Second is Shockwave. On hit, create a shockwave of explosions towards the target, dealing increased damage. Third is Blast Pulse. Explosions now deal massively increased damage and knocking nearby monsters back with massive force and dealing increased damage if they hit terrain. And lastly, Penetrating Trail. Explosive Bullet now pierces and sticks explosives to all monsters hit. Our seventh skill is Powder Trail. Starting with the travel nodes, we have monsters caught in explosions take a portion of the damage as burning. increased barrel traveling speed, increases the damage of barrel's explosions, increases the damage of barrel when it hits a monster, increases damage to burning targets. Every time the barrel hits an enemy, it gives you a stacking buff, increasing fire scale damage, chance on hit to unleash a fiery pulse, dealing additional damage, chance on cast to throw an additional barrel, increased cast rate when using powder trail, and increases area of effect but decreases the travel time. Our first augment is Barrel of Barrels. Send forward a big barrel exploding on hit, dealing damage and sending smaller barrels to all directions. Second is Fragmenting Barrel. The barrel stops into terrain or on a monster hit, releasing flying bombs in an arc. Third, we have Heavy Barrel. Send forward a slowly rolling barrel that knocks monsters back, dealing increased damage and stunning. And the fourth augment is Flaming Barrels. Send forward multiple barrels. Explosion sounds set the ground on fire, slowing and dealing damage. Our ninth skill is Bomb Barrage. Starting with the travel nodes, we have increases the amount of bombs thrown, increases their area of effect, increases frequencies of bombs thrown, increases the damage dealt by Bomb Barrage. Bombs inflict fire break on hit, increases damage dealt based on explosion AoE stat. Bombs have a chance to scorch the ground, dealing additional damage. Chance to shatter into fragments, inflicting bleeding when exploding. Increased bomb projectile speed. And chance to deal a critical hit, dealing increased damage. Our first augment is Cross Spot. Mark a location where to fire all bombs. Second, we have Bomb Shower. Fire multiple bombs in all directions from you. Just a heads up, this is one click. Next is Rapid Barrage. Rapidly fire bombs with increased speed, dealing area of effect damage and knocking monsters back on hit. And lastly, Rain of Bombs. Now throw a single bomb marking the location and dropping multiple bombs from the sky. Our 10th skill is Anchor Swing. Starting with the travel nodes, we have decreased movement diminish when using Anchor Swing, inflicts cold break on hit, increases the anchor duration, increases damage dealt by anchor, chance on cast to summon a smaller spinning anchor close to the pirate, chance on cast to unleash an additional anchor, increases damage dealt by anchor and freezes monsters on hit, increases damage to frozen targets, increases anchor size and area of effect radius, and increases the spinning speed. The first augment is Anchoring the Anchor. Throw the anchor on a target location, unleashing another anchor swinging around the one with the increased radius. Second is Extended Weight. Anchor now has an additional spinning anchor attached to it. Third, we have Colossal Anchor. Unleash a massive anchor covering a wide radius with increased damage. Anchor Swing now has a cooldown. And lastly, we have Trembling Smash. Send the anchor forward, unleashing a shockwave of torrents in all directions when hitting terrain. Our 11th and final skill is Land Ahoy. Starting with the travel nodes, we have increased the amount of bombs fired, decreases the cooldown of Land Ahoy. Bombs have a chance to explode an additional time, increased bomb explosion area effect radius, increased damage dealt by Land Ahoy, chance on cast to fire additional bombs towards nearby monsters, increased damage to stun targets, chance on hit to stun, chance on cast to fire larger bombs, knocking monsters airborne on hit and dealing increased damage, increased bomb damage based on explosion area of effect stat. Our first augment is Concentrated Blast Radius, significantly decreases the area of effect radius of Land Ahoy and increasing the amount of cannonballs. Second is Land Annihilation. Drop a reduced amount of big bombs on a significantly larger radius. Third is Traveling Bombardment. Mark a location and fire bombs landing from your location to target location in a narrow line. It increases the width and projectile amount. And our final augment is Rain of Fire. Damage type is changed to fire. Explosive barrels rain from the sky, inflicting burning on hit. And that's going to wrap up today's video, showcasing all of these sub-skill trees for the Pirate class. What was your favorite augment? Let me know in the comments. If you want to stay up to date with Season 5 beta, be sure to subscribe to this channel to always know when I post a new video. Come check me out live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Graxy_TV. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave it a like, as it does help me a ton. My content will always be free, but for those that are feeling extra generous, my donation link will be provided in the description. I super appreciate all the love and support this small Heroes Teach community has shown me. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.